Hey, I'm back. This is the Art Corner. Thank you for joining me. It's the holidays, so I've got a little Christmas picture here today. It's a little boy pulling a tree in a wagon. Now this morning I'm going to do a kind of a special one. I don't have an art reference. I mean, I've copied this and then we lost it. So I'm going to wing this today, so you guys bear with me. It may not be a Rembrandt, but we'll do the best we can. First thing I did was sketch it on a smaller canvas. Lots of times you can set pictures like this out seasonally. You don't want a great big large canvas sitting out with a Christmas tree in it all year or something holiday-ish all year. So something small scale like this you can shove in a drawer, bring it out for the holidays and sit it on an easel. Looks really pretty, you know, just to celebrate winter time or the holiday season. So I do have it sketched, so I cheated just a little bit. I think I sprayed it, I hope so. And the first thing we're going to do is start with our background. Got some things on my palette this morning. So I'm going to kind of do a dark, not dark, but kind of a wintry background. So I'm getting a medium-sized brush like this. Let me get my paper towels. You always want to have paper towels. I'm working in acrylic this morning. So you get your paper towel and kind of shove it underneath your palette so you can get your excess paint off. All right, water, of course, with acrylic is your blending medium. So I'm going to use white, just a little bit of a blue, and I'm also going to blend in a little yellow. I'm going to make kind of a sophisticated background. It's kind of an elementary looking picture, but we want it to look sophisticated enough to put in your living room. And also I've had a request or two to do something musical and I looked everywhere, Frida Boardwine, and could not find any kind of a musical reference that I thought would be fitting for the Art Corner today. So this is kind of what I came up with. I hope you all enjoy it. Go. You know, it's not so gloomy that you're depressed, but it's got a little wintry gloom to it. Using kind of a gray, medium blue. Using my water quite a bit. And I'm doing it light enough where I can still see my lines. Looks like I've used this canvas before. Let me get rid of that little area. Here we go. Found this on the internet in a clip art section and I just must have deleted it. I've looked all morning, couldn't find it. Busy time of year. And I'm doing the lighter area up here, maybe where the sun is still hanging in the air a little bit. Making this real loose. Here we go. And when you do your background first, you can get as close to your images as you want to. Oops, too much sun. Without, you know, getting rid of your lines completely. I get right up next to them like this. There's some images back in there. Just get right up next to those images. If you're off through the holiday season, grab you a little canvas and some paint. Follow along with me and do a little Christmas picture. Do this Christmas picture. It's really therapeutic and relaxing. I painted so much this holiday, I did not paint my Christmas cards. You know, by the time I send out Christmas cards, I'm just ready to quit painting. So I usually go buy one. But this would make a really pretty Christmas card. It's generic, but it's got a little holiday feel to it. Here we go. A little more blue. Around my boy and around my house. It's a cute little boy with his cool toboggan on. pulling the Christmas tree in his wagon up to what looks like their home maybe. Now I'm going to get a little bit darker with it. So on the edge of my brush, I'm going to use just a little black just to give it a little bit more rich sophistication. Let's get a little brown in there too. Now acrylic will dry sometimes with a matte finish. And if you want it to look like an oil painting without going to all the oil expense and drying time, get a polyurethane or a glaze and go over your painting. And that makes it look like an oil. There we go. A little more blue. I made him kind of depressed. But the background is a really important part of this one, so I'm spending a little more time on it than usual, but that's all right. I want you to be able to see the smoke too coming out of the house, so I'm going to make this area just a little darker. Guys, I'm not looking at a thing this time, so this is purely out of my hat, okay? All right. One area of weakness I still struggle with painting is our faces and portraits. I did take some formal portrait classes as a young adult, but I have not really worked on that like I should. That's something I may really work on in the new year. Like a New Year's resolution, I would like to get some more portrait work done. His face is turned, so we'll just get the side view of his face. Now, let's do your snow. Start with the white, but you know, you'd think, well, snow is white, but it's really not. It's got lots of shades in it, especially blue, especially in paintings or pictures, you'll see. So I'm gonna go ahead, put some of that blue in and around. But it is predominantly white. We just got uncovered from a big snow. I loved it. I hope we get 4 more this year. I know that's not popular, but I just love it. When they get on the news and say, don't go anywhere, stay in. It's wonderful. Here we go. Let's get some blue down in here. And also, I want to make it thick so that you see a little texture with this snow. So I'm really throwing it to it right here. Let's get that thick white on there. All right. Here we go. Get right up to the edge of my dog. Right up to the edge of my wagon and the tree. Adding some more blue. Now the shadow of this wagon is down here. I want to get that in there. He's dragging it through the snow. Here's where the pup is standing. Looks like there might be some layers or hills in this area, so I want to be sure and get those in while my paint's wet. There we go. Dragging that tree. Now since it is a little shadowy, let's get some darker black down in behind where the, looks like your sun, of course it's kind of off in the distance, but maybe coming in this way. There we go. Now I'm gonna let that dry just a second or two, get my brush, throw some more white on there. Right up to the edge of my tree. There we go. You need a little bit wider brush to get it going quicker. Here we go, look here, it's just like icing a cake. Just throw that paint on there. Now, in oil, it would be easier to make the thickness stay. With acrylic, you really have to put that white on there and you know, just really throw it on thick like this. I want to do a painting one of your New Year's resolutions. You never know. You might be incredibly artistic and not even realize it. I think I started painting when I was a little girl, and my mom saw that I was, you know, had some ability and put me in some classes, and I'm so thankful she did. I've really enjoyed this part of my life. It's a wonderful escape. It's my job now, and I'm so thankful. But it's a lot of fun. Here we go. Let's do the edge again. Get some more. Here we go. Now, I'm going to let that dry just a little bit, and then I'll come back and thicken it up some more. But are you starting to see some of the thick snow here? That's why he's leaving a trail, is because the snow is so thick. All right. Now let's let that dry just a minute. Let's get into our impressionistic kind of background over here. It looks like there might be just a ridge or a hillside back in the background. I want to add some more. I should have brought some extender. I don't think I have any extender, but an acrylic extender is a real good way to help acrylic paint flow. You can buy them anywhere that they sell art supplies, but it gives you the same feel that linseed oil would with an oil paint. There we go. There's some kind of a little hillside over here. Now, once again, I'm trying to give it some interest. And there's snow on the hillside, so we will add just a little bit of white to that. There we go. It's not completely covered though. There's some branches up here, so I want to start them. While this background's still a little damp. Now, acrylic dries fast, folks. You really have to work fast with acrylic. To be honest, I think watercolor is super hard. I think acrylic paint would be second, and oil would be one of your easier mediums to work with. Now, ruin your clothes, but it's easy to work with. Now I'm going to do a little snow on some of these branches. I want to make them kind of iridescent and flowy. Add some water. And it really doesn't matter if they drip a little bit. I want them to be really background, kind of weird looking. There we go. And I am just going back and forth and adding to, taking away, here we go, on my palette, using a paper plate. I'm going to do a leftover tree leaf on here, still hanging on from the season before. Okay, I'm starting to sound like Bob Ross. Some nice little tree leaves here. Let me go back over some of those. Some of them are too solid. Now watch, I'm going to get water, and I'm just going to kind of mess this up just a little bit to give it some interest. I don't want it so vivid. I want it to be kind of in the background, okay? If it drips, that's okay. Now, get my bigger brush, rinse off this excess, and kind of smear this together. There we go. It's kind of a contemporary look, but I want this to be unusual. So here we go. There we go. Now, let's go ahead and put some of that in the background too. Get rid of that stain up there, whatever that is. There we go. That's kind of the look I wanted. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of that brown in my snow. It's left over on my brush. Once again, it helps it to be a little more interesting. You're going to see shadows on snow. It's not all white. There we go. But you can tell that's what it is. Now, let me mess this up just a little more. Guys, sometimes I use plastic bags, paper towels, my hand, whatever it takes to get the smudgy background look. I just use whatever it takes. All right. Okay, I think that's good enough for now. I may go back and tweak it a little bit in a little bit. All right. Let's go ahead and do the little boy. You really do need to go from back to front. He is behind the tree. So I'm going to go ahead and get him started. Let's put I don't know, maybe he's a little boy. Let's do a little bluey brown jacket on him. You can see his little collar's up kind of high. May change brushes here. Yeah, here's a smaller one. This will help me get a little more detail on there. I'm also going to need to do a little flesh on his face. This is called Portrait Pink. It's about all you need. Just a little dot of flesh so we don't lose his face. Put it right here. Probably see just a little bit of him. We'll shadow in a nose or an eye maybe in a minute. I'm going to stick with this brush. Get him a jacket on. Let's do a highlight there. I love to get a fresh, real Christmas tree. And going to a tree lot's fine with me, but it would really be a lot of fun to do what he's doing. Go out in the woods and cut one down and drag it home. I haven't done that, but I think that would be neat. I think my favorite smell in the whole world is an evergreen tree. You just can't beat it. There we go. We'll do him dark on one side because our highlight's coming from this way. So his jacket's going to be dark on this side, okay? And a little lighter in the front. Here we go. He's got one of those cool toboggans on. I love these too. Wish I was a hat person. Let's make it red. Dark on this side. We'll add a little highlight in the front. Don't want it pink, so I'm going to highlight it with a little yellowy gold. There we go. And those cool toboggans with the little powder puff on the top, they're the best. They're so cute. Now, how you can do that is start in the middle kind of with a little darkness and then pull it out, and we'll do some highlights on the edges to make it look like a little powdery puff, little pom-pom on his head. Once again, I'm using these little nylon angle brushes. They're my favorite. They just seem to do the job. You can get a lot done with a point and a solid, and it's also short so you have more control. The shorter your brush is, the more control you're going to have. Sometimes you don't want control, like for a tree branch, or something like that, you want it to just kind of take on a life of its own. So you'll use a longer, more narrow brush. But when you want control, these little short ones are the ticket. Here we go. Now, I'm going to put a few details in his jacket. I've got a little black, and I'm just going to kind of show some folds and crevices here in his jacket. As we get down toward the tree, it's darker. There we go. Guys, y'all hang with me. This is just total wingage. There we go. Dark there. Dark back in here. His jacket, even though it's highlit, we still want to see where it stops and starts. Down near the tree, it's darker. There we go. Starting to see him just a little bit. Okay, here's one of those longer brushes I was talking to you about. I am going to do a little detail on his face. It looks like it might be a little sharper than the one I'm using. Not a lot. You're not going to see his face. He's turned. But we do need to see somewhat of a nose, somewhat of a shadow here. Digging into my flesh tone. His cheeks would probably be kind of red. It's cold outside. There we go. Got him a little bit shaded more than I should, but it's all right. I think he's going to do fine. Let's get that harsh black off right there where I outlined his nose. Okay, there we go. I'm going to highlight his toboggan. There we go. When you really add lights and darks to your painting, your realism comes out. Don't be afraid of lights and darks. They actually make your painting. Okay, now, for the tree, I want to do a dark forest and then add a little snow on top. So I'm going to use black and green, and I'm going to really dig into that black first. Here we go. Love doing evergreens. And the reason I want to do it kind of dark too is I want to add some snow on the tree. He just got this out of the forest, and you can see they've been in a snowstorm. So let me get this green and black on, let it dry, then we'll go back in and highlight it. Get the top of this tree first, then I'll have to get the wagon. I didn't do my background first on the wagon, so let me get it in, but here we go. There's the tip of that Christmas tree right down here. It's round, so I'm making my strokes to kind of go around, but at the ends we want them loose and jagged. Now, let me get my wagon in real quick. What color are we going to do it? Let's do it kind of a golden brown. There we go. It's something he found out in the barn. Let that dry a second and we'll go over it with green. I'm going to get a little black and put my railings in. My tires. Now the tires are going to be in the snow, so we don't want to do the whole thing. One up front. Since it is up front, you're not going to see the whole thing. Makes it look like it's going away from us, okay? There we go. There's one way up there. You don't really see it though. So again, I'm using the tip of this narrow brush. There's the corner. Here's the other corner. Give that wagon some age. I'm going to kind of shade in the center here to give maybe some spokes. There we go. Now, there's our little wagon. Kind of an old rustic wagon. While I'm working on the wagon, I'm going to clean my brush up and get some snow up around it like this. There we go. It's kind of making a little trail, but we want that snow up and around those tires. Maybe a little bit on the tires like this. There we go. Once again, I think it would be nice to have this little fella in oil, but we'll make it look like an oil by glazing it after it dries. All right, let me go back on top with my Christmas tree, back into my green and black. There we go. Now as the tree comes down toward the end, we're getting more narrow, like this. There we go. Covering up some of that wagon. Looks like a Fraser fir. I'm going to plant one in my yard one day. Just use it for greenery all season long. All right. Now, let's let that tree dry, and I'm going to go back over it with snow. In the meantime, while we're letting that dry some, let's start the house. This is where he's looking toward. He's headed toward the house. So let's get a little roof on that house. It's in a distance, so I don't want my colors to be as vivid. So let's try to get our colors a little more muted. It's a little further off. So I'm going to kind of make it a little further away, and I will add a little snow. Here's our roof lines. Architecture is hard but fun, and it's very rewarding. If you can learn how to do your perspectives correctly, it's a more advanced art technique. Architecture is so much fun to paint. You do have to get your 2-point, 3-point, 4-point perspective correct for it to look good, but it's worth the effort. Here we go. Let's get this house off in a distance. Not really sure what color the house is, but it doesn't matter. All right. Doing a little more. I do, like I say, I'm making it kind of faded. I've noticed the older I get, the more I have to lean back and look at my painting as I work on it. I'll tell you, the best thing in the world you can do, though, to make sure your perspectives are correct is to stand up and walk away. Stand up, walk around the house, walk around the studio, get your eye off of it for just a few minutes, and then come back and look at it, and you'll go, oh, I see a mistake, or I need to redo that. It really helps. I've got a little studio downtown, and sometimes I just get up and walk around the shop, and then come back, take a look at it, and I see all kinds of errors, and it helps a lot. But I will at least sit back so you can get a distant perspective of what you're doing. If you're right on top of it, you really can't see it the way it should be viewed. All right, let's get this one little area dark. Isn't that cute? Getting my smaller brush again. And I'm just going to kind of use the leftover paint that's on here. That way we won't be hemmed into a color necessarily. Isn't he cute? All right. Here we go. Let's get this line straight. Now I'll show you something cool while we're waiting on our tree to dry so we can put snow on it. Once again, I want it to look a little more sophisticated than just a... So let's get some brown. Let's age it just a little bit. Get some brown up in here. You'd be surprised at what sells in paintings. Seems like the older and the crustier my paintings are, quicker they go. If it's a brand new, fresh, crisp painting, people don't want it. But if it's got crust on it and it's got crackle on it, they sell really quickly. Now, let's do a little chimney. Right here. Small little chimney. Make it look kind of like an inviting place. So I'm going to go into my white and water a little bit. And I want to do a little bit hint of a smoke coming out of that chimney. Just real watery and loose. Turning my brush sideways. It's almost a watercolor technique. Just watery and loose. Okay. We don't want it to look like it's on fire, but there we go. Now, while I've got that watery and loose on my brush, I'm going to add some windows, some distant windows. There's a door on this house. I'm just going to sort of blotch off where those windows will be, and I'll hem them in a minute. Now let's do just a little snow with my leftover smoke paint. There we go. I'm just loving this. It's starting to come together. All right. Y'all, really, I lost my art reference. And I kind of panicked. I thought, oh no, I can't do it and not see anything. But it's coming together okay. This is just kind of out of my head. Here's some snow on this roof. And Frida, I wish I could have done some musical something, but I couldn't find anything. We'll do something fun in the winter months. We'll find something else. Here was some old snow. You see it? Old snow. Top of this house. More here. Okay. Now, let's make that door red. Not bright red because it's far away, but let's make it a little red door he's headed toward. I'm going to add a little dark to it. One little warning about red, it is a very strong and dominant color. If you add white to it, it always turns pink. So if you want to highlight your using red, I suggest using yellow, gold, gray. Fill in these canvas holes with a little dirty globs here. There we go. There we go. Well, you can see this house a little better. Highlight that chimney some. There we go. Let me mute that. And this is kind of actually starting to look kind of like a watercolor. And acrylic can do that. While we're doing this let's do our little dog. We're still waiting on our tree to dry. It looks like it might be a little Cairn Terrier, like on the Wizard of Oz. Do him kind of a browny gray. And he is helping bring in the tree. His little tail's up. He's with his daddy. Here he is. The back will be a little darker because once again your highlight's coming this way. Let's do him a little darker back here. He's got little skinny legs. I have a little terrier. Good helpers. There we go. Let me add a little more dark on this side. Now, let's shadow him so he's not floating. I'm going to shadow him with a little blue down here and a little bit of the brown, but this shows that he's underneath that shadow too. And I'm going to, while I'm shading, let's get some of this shaded. Do my little trail. Now, it is looking real watercolory, but you know what? It doesn't bother me a bit. Now let's get some snow on that tree. I'm going to add just a little bit of gray to my white, and I may get a bigger brush. Let's do this larger brush. for my snow. It's still wet, it's been in the water. And let's just do little bits of snow kind of on this tree. He is taking it out of the woods. So he's still going to have a little on there, but not tons. So we're just going to do little globs of snow. Maybe a little much over here. There we go. Don't want to lose my tree. Just a few little, and this sort of shows the shapes of your branches too. Kind of highlights them just a little bit. Now I may take some of it off in a minute, but let's at least get it started. There we go. Now, that's probably plenty. I'm gonna add a little bit of a black green to settle that out just a little bit. There we go. There we go. Now, you can still see the snow on that tree. I'm going to add just another little glob down here. Yeah. There we go. I kind of see why Bob Ross whispers. When you get into it, you just kind of forget what you're saying. You kind of get into the zone, as we call it. That's one good thing about painting. It can take you into the zone. Makes you forget about life, you know what I mean? Kind of get into what you're doing, and you've created something that you enjoy, that you love, and very therapeutic.